Well, all right, guys, let's dive in. What are we talking about today? Our topic today is using data to drive post-secondary enrollment, strategies for counselors and district leaders. I am really excited about this session. We have some really wonderful information in store for you with some expert guest speakers from TEA, the Coordinating Board, and TechScan. And they're here today to talk about their data dashboards and how these dashboards can support educators who are, monitoring enrollment trends, CCMR data, graduation rates by year, and FAFSA numbers from across the state of Texas. They're also going to give you updates, some sneak peeks, and tell you how to access all of these wonderful resources. So super excited about today. Now let's take a look at our agenda. This is what will guide our session for today. First, we have our welcome and introductions, and then we're going to kick it off with Sharon Wong from the agency. She's going to talk about the Texas Talent Trajectory Dashboard. She's going to give an introduction, an overview, and even give you guys a sneak peek of where to find it and what it looks like. Then we have Katie Jubert from TEA, who's going to talk about the TEA CCMR tracker. She's going to give you some updates, a little bit of more information about what to expect, how you can access this tool, when you can access this tool, and everything you're going to need to know. Then we're also so excited to have Kendra Strange from TextCan, who's going to give you an overview of the 3 data dashboards that you can expect to find from them. And they're fantastic. And she's even going to give you a sneak peek of what they look like and tell you about what is to come. Then, of course, we have our bright ideas, which are actually your bright ideas, because we love to hear from you and share out what you guys are saying and what y'all are doing in the field. Then we're going to talk about how the Texas On-Course Academy can help support data resources and management. Then we'll have time, of course, for our Q&A. So really exciting session today. So who are we? We are the Professional Learning and Engagement team. My name is Lauren Disher. I'm the Senior Network Coordinator for the team. I have the pleasure of working with Andrea Panter, our Director, Jared Garza, our Network Marketing Coordinator, and Ariana Wells, our intern. And we all come together to produce the Professional Learning series, our Tiny Takes, and PD sessions or conferences that we do across the state of Texas. And then, as I mentioned, we have some fabulous guest speakers with us here today. I will give them a moment to introduce themselves, and Sharon, I'll kick it off to you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just um, excited to give you just a glimpse of what we do at THGCB. My name is Sharon Wong. I'm a senior visualization analyst with THCB, specifically in data management research.
Hi, good morning. My name is Katie Dubert. I am the Principal Director of Policy and Communications within the Performance Reporting Division at the Texas Education Agency. And so kind of all things A through F fall within our wheelhouse. And really excited to be here with you all today and learn about some of the other incredible resources that are out there to really support students and graduates as they move from the K-12 space into post-secondary spaces. So thanks for being here and thanks for having us.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kendra Strange. I'm the Director for Higher Education for Access and Transition at Educate Texas. Within my portfolio are all things access and transition, as well as the Texas College Access Network. So today I'm excited to share with you guys our publicly accessible dashboards we have and how to access those. Additionally, how you might be able to utilize them in your work. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much again for being here and taking the time out of your busy days to support the session and everyone here on the call. So before we jump in, I want to ask you guys a question. What resource do you use to track data? We would love to know what you guys are currently using, what you've used in the past. Maybe you'll get some fun ideas for things to use now. But we have a really fun activity. If you scan the QR code, or you can just go over to the link that we just put into the chat. You can click on that and it'll take you to a quick little survey of like just to pop in a couple words. What do you use to track your data? And then we're going to have a fun word cloud that's going to be created with all of your responses.
Yes, and Lauren, the word cloud is already processing and picking up all those responses. I just want to leave the QR code up for a couple seconds before I switch back over. But right now we have CCMR tracker, Peens, counselor trackers, clearinghouse, spreadsheet, Qualtrics. Oh, y'all are going quick now.
Nice.
All right, it looks like y'all are in there. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over so you guys can see the magic happening.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Can everybody see that? Grace database.
Perfect. Yes, this is awesome. School links, DIY trackers, those are always good. I always did that when I was an advisor. Clearinghouse, Grace database, coordinating board, clearinghouse, spreadsheet, district created dashboard, that's always fun. CCMR insights, the data suite, Teams. My gosh, these are Google Sheets. That's awesome.
Yeah, and those bigger ones mean multiple people were putting the same ones in. So it looks like
Yeah.
our Google Sheets and our CCMR tracker and school links are
All right.
that.
That's awesome. That's a lot of fun to do, fun to see what you guys are using currently. Excited to show you some new things so that you can also use those and incorporate into what you're already doing. But thank you guys for participating. I always like to get to know the audience and who's out there and what you guys are doing. And with that, I'll kick it over to Sharon.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Sharon Wong, and I'm going to talk about a few THGCP data resources that you may not know about. Like one resource that I do want to highlight is DataBridge, and the link is right there. What DataBridge is it's a series of explanatory and exploratory dashboards on a variety of topics are really critical in addressing post-secondary success. We're talking about enrollment, completions, transfer, credentials of value, student debt, and in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about T3 and how we can use that in our decision making for our kids all the way from 8th grade. Some of the questions that you can use these dashboards to answer are like, what are the trends in enrollment by program or major? How do debt levels vary by different demographic breakouts? What are the trends over time? Are graduations going up or going down? And the different pathways that we're going to look into for T3. So this is just a few questions you can use DataBridge for. And this is just a screenshot. When you click on the link on the previous slide, it will take you to here, and you'll see a variety of topics at the top. A couple of topics that you might be interested is kind of under pre-college. So from DataBridge, you'll click on pre-college, you'll get to here. There's a couple of reports you might be interested in. Please feel free to explore. I encourage you to explore this. Is higher education readiness. It talks about it follows graduates who enroll in post-secondary immediately after graduation, and then it summarizes the TSIA scores. The other one is just dual credit. How many of our students are enrolled in dual credit? How many are taking on the high school campus? How many are enrolled in the college campus? So there's a variety of reports and data here that I encourage you to explore. And this is the link is provided here on this page. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the T3 dashboard that we launched in 2024 and have made some enhancements on it, so I will speak to in a minute. Okay, what the T3 dashboard does is that it provides insights on Texas students' pathways by tracking their progress from 8th grade all the way through post-secondary education. So we start with a cohort of 8th graders and we follow them through 11 years of data. So through high school and then through 6 years of higher education. we use National Student Clearinghouse data, as some of you have pointed out. We use TEA, and we also combine THECP post-secondary data. Again, outcomes are tracked for 11 years, including the last year of middle school, 4 years of high school, and 6 years of higher education. And then our goal is to ultimately empower educators, policymakers, and stakeholders such as yourselves to make some data-driven insights and support decision-making. And this is just a quick background of how we developed. I won't go into too many details, but I just want to know that we've been publishing these 8th grade cohorts for a while, and they used to be published in spreadsheets like the screenshot below. It was a longitudinal study to analyze student data from 8th grade all the way through post-secondary education. So as you can see, there's different breakouts on Excel spreadsheets. And back starting with fall 1996, it was only 1 out of 5 8th grade students that earned a college degree or certificate. So it's going to be really interesting to look at just like how 8th graders have progressed since way back when. So this is a quick background of what they used to be published as. And if we go to the next slide, we'll talk about what it transitioned into. So from the spreadsheet, we evolved into into T3 dashboard. It's the same data, but we've added some enhancements. We've added districts and campus level reporting. And we also included out-of-state data from National Clearinghouse. So we know how many students are transferring out of state versus staying in state for college, which is really important to know which states are we losing to. It's very interactive, user-friendly, and then we also have net downloadable files too. If you want a quick one-page spreadsheet for a meeting, we have things you can download quickly as well. And this is just a visual about how the timeline works or how what the study looks like. So, for example, we look at cohorts. So for FY 2012 cohort, we were looking at 8th graders that enrolled in fall 2011. And then we track them through high school, and then we take into account early, expected, and late high school graduation. So like the little bar chart there. And then we also track through 6 years of higher education, that THECB data, to see if they obtained a degree or a certificate after enrolling in college. So that gives you, hopefully that gives you a quick glimpse of how these cohorts work and what timeframes we're looking at. Key research questions that you might want to ask yourself is how many 8th grade students progress through K-12 and did they graduate from a Texas public high school? And it's important we're only looking at public high schools. Did they enroll in a Texas higher education institution, or did they go out of state? Did they eventually earn a college degree or credential within 6 years of high school graduation? So it's really interesting just to see the time of where these students have progressed or possibly have dropped off. And then we look at different demographic breakouts. How do college pathways differ by student gender, ethnicity, and economic status? And then how have higher education trends changed? We have a year-to-year comparison tab that will show you in just a few minutes of what that looks like. Here's just something new that we added to the dashboard that was not on our previous spreadsheets, and that's the breakout by region, county, ISD, district, school, and campus. And you'll see it's also broken by gender, ethnicity, economic status. So when I show you the demo in a couple of minutes, I'll show you where you can find this visualization. A Sankey was used to really show the flow of students from when they graduated high school and how many of them enrolled in Texas higher ed, how many enrolled out of state, and how many enrolled in a 2-year versus the 4-year, and how many eventually got their certificate or degree. So that's what Sankeys are used for, is to describe the flow of outcomes for a group of students. And this is just like a quick interpretation of data for statewide data. As you can tell, I looked at the first, but on the left, you'll hit economically disadvantaged, and you can select using the filter above, highlighted in red. versus non-economically disadvantaged. And you can tell Texas higher education enrollment is lower for economically disadvantaged students. Enrollment in Texas four-year institutions is also lower for economically disadvantaged students. But overall completion is higher for non-economically disadvantaged students, especially for bachelor's degree. So if you compare the two Sankeys and two visualizations, you'll notice the gap between the two groups. So this is just an example of how you can use a dashboard to get some statewide trends and insights of where there are gaps in post-secondary education. Okay, and so I will share, I'm going to do a quick demo that will just take a few minutes of the T3 dashboard. So hopefully you can all see that. So this is the T3 dashboard that you can find on DataBridge. And let me scroll down here. And here's, I'm looking at the 2014 cohort. And so we had 380K eighth graders. And out of those, this is how many they graduated. And this is how many enrolled in higher ed. And this is approximately how many numbers that went out of state. And this is eventually the number that completed credential in Texas. And so on the overview page, you can have your breakouts by gender. We'll click on here, the race ethnicity. So it's very interactive. You can select statewide, or you can look at different regions. So this is looking at Austin, and you can select any county that's in Austin. Let's see. Let's say Milam. And is properly masked and relative to be FERPA compliant. So if you see blanks, it's probably masked. I would choose, let's choose a bigger county. I'm going to choose Williamson. And so it's extremely interactive county, and then also district. If you want to choose a district, you can look at the district level, and then you can also look at the eighth grade campus. So that's a quick overview. And there's a year-to-year comparison. If you want to look at trends over different cohort years, you can use that too. And the filters actually transfer over. So the filters you pick on this page will go to the next tab as well. You can look at Texas, and you also look at out of state as well. So there's like a little toggle button between Texas and out of state. I'm gonna probably reset all this. Let's reset. Okay, so I'm gonna reset all my filters. And then we go to eighth grade outcomes, and here we're looking at Sankey's, what I was talking about before. And this is a combined cohort. When you see these two tabs, we're combining on the cohort years, so it's not individual years, it's combined 2012 to 2014. And you can see the flow, like we had 905 high school graduates, and out of those, this many enrolled in Texas, and there's a small percentage that enrolled out of state. And there's some that also not found in higher education as well. So that's how you use this one. And all the characteristics are here: economically disadvantaged, non-economically disadvantaged as well. In the demographics, you can look at gender, or you can look at race ethnicity as well. And then appendix, for all you data nerds out there, this is a really good place to find data definitions. We use TEA data, so thank you TEA, because we couldn't have done this without your support. Regions map, this is where all the TEA regions are on a map to help you visualize where they're located in Texas. Download data, this is where you can download like an Excel file with a statewide summary. It just gives you a summary about the data, how to use the dashboard, really, and important updates. We want to be transparent with our updates, and this will tell you what we've done in the past. National Student Clearinghouse, if you are interested to know what we did with National Student Clearinghouse data, this would be a good visual in terms of before and after. We really cleaned it up to really truly capture how many students went out of state. And it's just very a lot of data nuances and methodology, definitions involved, but they'll give you that. And then timeline, again, is the visual. It gives you an example of what this dashboard does, and how we track 8th grade cohorts. So I hope you go out and explore this dashboard and our other data-based resources. And I hope it will give you a glimpse or an idea of what the trends look like in our post-secondary world. So again, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. I'll be happy to answer them. And given that, I will pass it back.
Hi, nice to see you all again. I'm here today to talk about how the CCMR tracker can be a tool to really ensure that your schools and districts are meeting the outcomes that you want for CCMR or college, career, military readiness. So CCMR shows up all across the accountability system. So very briefly to touch about where it shows up. Of course, within the broader accountability system, 70% of your campus rating is going to come from the better of achievement or school progress. So domains 1 or domain 2. And that accounts for 70% of your overall score. And then 30% comes from closing the gaps. Within the ACE-REF system, we have 3 big goals. The first is to ensure that all kids across the state of Texas are achieving and growing. The second is to ensure that, especially for our most historically vulnerable and marginalized groups of students, they are growing and achieving as well. And then, of course, the reason we're here today is to ensure that we're preparing our graduates for college, career, and really the life of their choice. And so when we take a look at, well, where does CCMR show up? The answer is across the board. So within domain 1, the student achievement domain, CCMR accounts for 40% of a campus's domain 1 score. In domain 2A, which is the academic growth, we actually don't see CCMR. The reason for that is CCMR is really looking at a cohort of students, whereas with academic growth, we're thinking about individual growth year over year. So definitely I saw in the word cloud, lots of people using the CCMR tracker, which is great. That means you all are tracking, from 9th grade to 10th grade to 11th grade, how many kids are on track to be CCMR. However, at the agency, we're just kind of looking at the cohort of graduates or potentially other students who have not yet graduated. And so we look at holistically rather than individual, which is why we don't see it in domain 2A or the academic growth domain. We do see domain 2B, CCMR shows up there. And for our high schools and our K-12 campuses, that accounts for 50% of your domain 2B score. So we look at your overall achievement, both on the STAR assessment and CCMR. We compare that to other campuses with a similar percentage of students who are economically disadvantaged. And so whichever of those 3 is the best score is going to count for 70%. Of course, within domain 3 or the closing the gaps domain, we're looking at individual groups of students. So your all students group, your high focus group, which includes students who have disabilities, students who are highly mobile, and your emergent bilingual students, as well as students who are economically disadvantaged. And then we're looking at your 2 lowest racial or ethnic groups from the prior year. Again, in domain 3, we're looking at cohort growth. So when we look at, for example, your high focus group, your CCMR last year, how does that compare to CCMR this year? One thing I do want to note, we talk about CCMR usually in terms of graduates. In domain 3, we are not just looking at graduates, we are looking at any students who were enrolled or reported as 12th graders in your fall snapshot. So always just want to highlight that in domain 3, it's not just looking at graduates, it's also looking at your continuers or students who need, just a little bit of extra time to cross that graduation stage. On the next slide, you'll be able to see all of the CCMR indicators. And I do want to note we are gearing up for the 2028 refresh. If you're staying really on top of all the news in CCMR, you know there are some changes for both 2028 again and 2031. But today we're really focused on the here and now. And so there are no proposed changes for 2026 and 2027 that have not already been published in accountability manuals for some time. So of course we have a number of college-ready indicators that we're looking at, and then also career and military indicators. And so each student in Domain 3 or annual graduates in Domain 1 and 2, we are looking, did they earn any one of these indicators? And then we take the percent, the number of students who earned those indicators, we divide that by the total number of annual graduates, and that becomes your CCMR raw score. So the CCMR tracker is a tremendous resource in knowing who is on track and who is not yet on track to be CCMR. So CCMR data, of course, is lagging. So for 2026 accountability, or this August, we're actually going to be looking at the class of 2025. The CCMR tracker, though, is really focused on who is enrolled in your high schools right now. So your CCMR tracker that will be coming out in early April is going to include all students who were reported on European snapshot data in October of 2025, all students in grades 9 through 12. That is also going to include demographic information for those students. So we know oftentimes, districts are being really strategic about, what does our college readiness indicators look like for our emergent bilingual students? All of that demographic information is available, which is one of the many reasons why this is not a publicly shared resource. We'll talk a little bit about how you can access it and where it's located, but there is a lot of confidential student data included, and so of course, all of this is going to be released in Teal. We also then, for every single student that was enrolled and every possible CCMR indicator, it's very simply going to say yes or no if that student has achieved the indicator. So of course, if you filter just to look at your ninth graders, you would probably anticipate a lot of no's. There's a reason we have 4 years of high school. And whereas your students who were enrolled in grade 12, who will be reported on 2027 accountability, you might want to see more yeses there, but you'll be able to see indicator by indicator what that looks like. So we talked a little bit about CCMR reporting is lagging. And then I also just want to name that the data that we have within the CCMR tracker also includes lagging data. And so, sometimes we'll have individuals reach out and they're like, I know this kid passed or, got a certain score on TSIA. And we're like, that's quite possible. We may just not have that data yet. So there are actually two parts to the CCMR tracker. So part one comes out here in April. Part two will come out a little bit later in the summer. And in part one, we'll have any data that's reported through TSDS PIMS. So a really good example of that would be IBC completers. That would be reported through PIMS. We'll also get TSIA results and then on-ramps completion through the 24-25 school year. And then for SAT, ACT, AP, IB, and level 1 and 2 certificates, that'll be through the 23-24 school year. So again, we understand 23-24 was some time ago, so it's possible that, in fact, that student did, meet the criteria on an advanced placement exam. You would expect to see that reflected in part two, which will come out in the summer. I saw a lot of people in the Wordle or the word cloud were using the CCMR tracker, which is fantastic. We're so glad to hear that. We also wanted to share that there will be some updates to the CCMR tracker specifically focused on industry-based certifications. So this is probably the number one question we get at performance reporting is just understanding how do all of the pieces for an industry-based certification come together. And oftentimes people really see it as simplified of like, well, we need to click earned in PIMS and then they got it. And it's like, well, Not quite, right? So they first need to earn the, not first, but they need to earn the IBC. They also need to be a completer in a program of study. And then we need to ensure that the industry-based certification and the completion for the program of study are aligned. And so there's a lot of resources excuse me, available through our college career military prep team to look at the crosswalks, et cetera. But we also wanted to make that upgrade in the CCMR tracker. So this year, rather than just saying, did the student earn an IBC, you'll be able to use some embedded filters to understand, do they have an IBC? Are they a completer? And are those two things aligned? Or potentially you'll say like, oh, they're a completer, but they haven't yet earned their IBC. Well, great. We know exactly what we need to get done this spring. Or if it's an underclassman, you've got some more time to make that happen. And so we hope that's a really useful tool and just really looking at all three components that are required for those industry-based certifications. And that is going to be just a really easy filter. And to put a quick plug out there, we'll also, once that is live, we'll be doing some office hours. So subscribe to our bulletin, which I know the link will be embedded in here in order to support that work as well. If you notice that there is a discrepancy between your internal tracking and what we have reported in the CCMR tracker, there's a couple options. And really, we hope this is used at the district level and the campus level to really verify internal data. Of course, things happen. We want to make sure what we have is correct. And then, of course, it is intended to be a preview of what will show up in future. I think we'll go up to 2030 accountability based on what's on the CCMR tracker this spring. And so lots of time in order to make sure those things are corrected. So if you find that the internal data you have does not align with what was reported on the CCMR tracker, the first thing we do is just double check it's not because of lagging data. So for example, if you have ACT scores from fall of 2025, perfectly valid, those just wouldn't show up on our CCMR tracker until a little bit later. So first thing we ask everyone to do is just take a look at what data should be reported. And then if our data hasn't caught up to what you all have access yet at the school or district level, that should show up in the summer part 2 of the CCMR tracker. Once you've confirmed, so let's say, for example, you have ACT data from fall of 2024, that should be on the CCMR tracker. If it's not, we ask that you make note of that and then begin collecting documentation. And then there's a couple options of what you can do with that. So if the data is related to an error made in a PEIMS collection, for example, somebody made an error and put that a student passed an industry-based certification rather than earned an industry-based certification. That is something that for the first time this year, you are able to correct. And so we recently released back February 19th some guidance on how to submit a PEIMS working submission specific to errors in submissions for CCMR data. And so if there is an error that will result in accountability discrepancies, work really closely with your Education Service Center to submit that PEIMS working submission. If the error is non-PEIMS related, so, from the example, an ACT, this could also be on-ramps, etc., you'll be able to submit that submit that documentation as part of the CCMR verifier. So the CCMR verifier is released in late May, and that is going to reflect data for students who will be reflected on this year's accountability. So for example, the class for 2026 accountability, you'll be looking at 2025 annual grads or students who were reported as 12th graders in fall of 2024. So if, for example, you have a 10th grader, we don't have their ACT results, we should have their ACT results. Hang on to that, because when that student is reported on accountability, you'll be able to correct that as part of the CCMR verifier. Okay. So as I named, the CCMR tracker is shared through the MyTEA login or the Teal accountability application. We occasionally will get asked of like, can you just email it to us? We can't, there's not really a secure way for us to do that. If you don't currently have access to the Teal accountability application, the first thing you can do is request a Teal account. That'll go through kind of your district channels to get approval for it. That would be option one. And then if it is not available, if for some reason that MyTEA login is not available, someone in your district, absolutely, I promise, has access to it, and you can connect with that person to get access to the CCMR tracker. It is not web-based, it is downloadable. So within district, if you don't have the TEA login, that will be made available, that can be made available internally other ways as well. Last couple of things I wanted to touch in. So as information is released, as I shared, we're looking at early April for the CCMR tracker to be shared. So we will post all of that on the performance reporting resources. So the stars here are 2025 resources. Of course, those will all be updated for 2026. But if you wanted to start just kind of poking around, if you've never looked at the CCMR tracker, and you could look at these and cross-reference what is available now within the 2025 accountability listings, all of those things are available to you. So some of these are much more high level, really the intent. And then some of these are really just a table of like, here is every single data element. Here's where we get it from, and here's how you read it. So we also deliver a weekly newsletter, and so anytime we release new information, that'll be posted, that'll be shared through our performance reporting bulletin. So if you want to get signed up for that, we absolutely will make sure that the CCMR tracker information is linked in our bulletin as well. And here's just an example of what this looks like. So you have individual fields and then the explanation. So this can be a really helpful tool. I know I used to print this out and then actually pull up our tracker so I could go line by line, kid by kid, to ensure that things really match up. People who have much better skills with Excel than I do also did some formulas to, highlight if there were any discrepancies. But really, the CCMR tracker is intended to be a planning tool for you all. We know that it is a big lift to get every kid CCMR prior to graduation or at graduation, and so we want to ensure that you have the resources you need to do that. We are really excited about the updates, so we can jump to the next slide. If as you start to dig into the resources or when the CCMR tracker actually comes out, if you have any questions or need any support, this is how you can get a hold of us. As I shared, we'll also be doing some a really brief webinar and some office hours on the updates to the CCMR tracker. So again, subscribe to our performance reporting bulletin for access to how to sign up for those once they become available in a couple weeks here.
All righty, let's jump right in. I'm gonna kick us off by briefly explaining what Educate Texas is. You can go to the first slide. Educate Texas is an initiative of Communities Foundation of Texas. We are a trusted change agent in the field of education. We have a mission to address the biggest challenges in public education. And so the Texas College Access Network is actually an initiative of Educate Texas. And so initiative of this, initiative of that. Really want to explain, folks, that Educate Texas is the education arm of Communities Foundation, while Texas College Access Network really focuses straight in on the college access. You can go to the next slide. And so today I want to briefly share with you guys a little bit about the dashboards on our website. The Texas College Access Network connects and supports college access across the entire state. We provide training and resources to counselors, whether that be in-person or virtual training on financial aid completion or other tasks within the college access space. We're here to support college access across the state. And so we're increasing access to higher education, we're influencing policy, and we're also inspiring change and movement. We actually convene a lot of your regional backbones or regional organizations that are leading college access and the tri-agencies to really talk about how we can support students through their transition from high school into their post-secondary pathways. You can go to the next slide. So what are our dashboards and why are they needed? Well, essentially the dashboards are interactive public data dashboards hosted by the Texas College Access Network. All of this data that we're pulling together is readily available for you, but we know that your time, energy, and effort should be spent working directly with students and not necessarily building out spreadsheets where you can capture data and figure out where you were last year and how to move the needle this year. We build them in Microsoft Power BI for easy comparison and filtering. You can compare both to the state as well as local so that you can get insights as to how you're performing in relation to your peer regions and or peer organizations. And then we know FAFSA completion and direct-to-college enrollment are just two of those factors, right, necessary for a student to show that they're going to go on to something post-high school, but they're not the only ones. These are just some of those data metrics that people are tracking and utilizing to really showcase the story in the work. And why are these valuable? Of course, it increases data transparency and college access within Texas. We want to support data-informed decision-making by practitioners and college access programs and nonprofits. And so we want the data to be accessible so that folks know where they need to go, where's support needed, where's their oversaturation, where's their under-resourced, and we need more resourcing in a particular region. And we also want to really support the talent strong Texas and Texas actually reaching its post-secondary attainment goals. And finally, again, to identify those gaps, overlaps within the region so that we can even figure out where do we need to target support to kind of get everyone across the state moving. You can go to the next slide. So we offer 3 separate dashboards right now, and I won't steal my own thunder for later to make an announcement about some new data dashboards coming, but we have 3 right now. The first being FAFSA completion, and that one's going to show you FAFSA completion year over year and month by month. I will say we're using publicly accessible data, so it does lag sometimes, which means the dashboard is not up to date. Maybe you go and you're looking for your August information on your students that have completed the FAFSA from the previous year. Now that data will be up to date because we have a whole year. But if you want October data on October 2nd, likely we will not have that on the dashboard just yet. We also have our direct-to-college enrollment dashboard, which shows immediate post-secondary enrollment to both 4-year and 2-year institutions in the states. And then our final dashboard is the Texas graduate earnings by degree level. So if you're ever curious to show students, comparing long-term earnings for a particular credential, does it have value in the workplace? What types of careers are people choosing? What's the earning potential for this particular career? You can utilize that dashboard in that space. You can go to the next slide. All right, so how do you access our dashboards? Easiest way, texascollegeaccess.org will take you to TexCan's website. It's also the same as edtex.org/program/TexCan. I figure it's easier to go to texascollegeaccess.org. And once you get there, you're going to scroll to the very bottom of the page, select which dashboard you want. They're clearly labeled FAFSA completion, direct-to-college enrollment, and earnings. And you'll be able to kind of figure out which one you want to utilize. I will say I'm going to show a demo at the end, but there are filters for you to break it down by ESC region. So whichever educational service center region you are in, what county you're in, the district and campus. So you can do some comparison data to how your region might be performing against the state and go all the way down to how your campus might be performing. There's going to be a bar graph on here when I show it. And you can hover over any of the bar graph or line graph to actually see the detailed information. So that's just a tip we want to throw in there. So that's kind of how you access it, texascollegeaccess.org. Next slide. And the ways you might utilize this is, for example, you might monitor your monthly FAFSA completion progress and use this to kind of compare to what you have been collecting from students to ensure that there's proper matching and that there's accuracy in your data. You might use this to compare yourself again. What's the state doing? What's my region doing? What are other regions like my region doing? Are we on par with the rest of the state? You might want to identify when completion stalls happen, right? You could be pushing the team really hard for large numbers of completion in December, but then you look at previous years and you're saying, oh, wow, we've had the similar completion every single year. This is sort of our trend. It also can allow you to figure out within those trends, where should we host our FAFSA events? What types of advising strategies might we utilize to get more students to actually get their FAFSA complete? So those are the ways that you can utilize the dashboard. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is just a quick preview. I wanted to show you what they look like. So this is specifically the FAFSA completion dashboard, the one I'm going to actually demo today. And so they're going to be 2 separate dashboard dashboards within the FAFSA completion one. The one on my left, which is probably on your right, is where you can compare yourself to the state. So there's those pink bar graphs I was mentioning. Once you plot things on here, it's going to create line graphs, and I'll show you that, and you'll be able to constantly be able to see in November of 2025, this is where my school was, and this is where the state of Texas might have been. And so now you can kind of have this quick visual map to see that. The second one, which is on my right, your left, is going to be able to show you month over month how much percentage points changed from this time last year. So maybe you're looking at November of 2025. We're not quite to November yet, but where were we in November 25? Well, we're noticing that we're already surpassing our November numbers. Well, we're on trajectory to pass our FAFSA numbers for future months. And so you can actually look deeply on the second one where you can see the number, actual number of FAFSAs complete, the number of seniors calculated for each region. And this is a great tool to kind of look at how you might be comparing to other regions that have similar size. Maybe you don't know all the ESC regions. This would be a good place for you to come and see, okay, ESC 1 is similar to mine because they have about 30,000 seniors every year. So you could utilize this data in that way. You can flip to the next slide. All right, breaking news before I even show you a demo. Hi, this is Kendra Strange with a news break. We have some cool things coming out in the dashboards. I'm very excited. You can click for me, Andrea, so it can reveal our breaking news. We've got a new feature. You're going to be able to filter the dashboard based upon school type, whether that be rural, suburban, urban, charter. And I think this is very important to organizations interested in looking at rural completion of FAFSA or rural direct-to-college enrollment as compared to urban or suburban or those students in charter. And so I think this is a really cool tool to be able to even break the data down even further. And then we're also exploring new dashboards. And so I encourage you, if there's an idea or a data metric that you're like, oh, it'd be great if I could search. I'm hearing dual credit and TSI A2 a lot. And so we're exploring like what data might be available and what type of dashboard might be beneficial. So I encourage you to reach out to the TextCan team. I will share our contact details a little bit later, but please reach out if you have ideas. Next slide. I believe it's time for me to demo. Oh, a couple of tips before I do that. This data is updated monthly, or as the Department of Education updates the data, we pull it down and then we're able to update our dashboards. That's for FAFSA, and we usually do direct-to-college enrollment just once per year. And so you'll be able to compare that data the next year, but usually that's updated annually because that data is not available every month, right? It's only available certain times a year, so we update that annually. Again, a note about those pink bars, those are going to stay put on the dashboard where the bar graphs are. And then there's also the feature where you can select multiple districts, schools, campuses. All you have to do is hold down Control or Shift, and then you'll be able to, just like in an Excel spreadsheet, grab multiple filters so that you might be able to even compare to other regions clearly on that graph for you. All right, I believe it's now time for me to demo. Oh, I'm going to skip my beautiful quote. Data is just summaries of thousands of stories. Tell a few of those stories to help make the data meaningful. And so I just want to put that reminder there as you think about your data. It's one part of the story. It's not the full story. So let's make sure we've got accurate data so that we can tell the right story so that students across Texas can get support that they need, right? And the data helps us to be able to figure out where to target. I'm ready to share now, Andrea. So let's grab the screen real quick. All right, so if you go to texascollegeaccess.org, once you arrive, you're going to see Texas College Access Network at the top of your screen. You want to scroll down, down, and you're going to see tools and resources. And here are all three of those dashboards clear here for you to pick. We're going to look at the FAFSA completion one. One tip, it does not open in its own browser. So if you want your screen to do that, you just need to click it and say, open link in a new tab. I'm just a little weird about that. I like to open in a new tab. All right, so once it opens, this is what it'll look like. You'll see FAFSA completion. Again, it'll explain what this dashboard can be utilized for. And it also tells you for, best experience, please use a desktop computer. It will work on the tablet and your phone. You got to do a lot of squinting and pinching, but it will work on all your devices. But we encourage you to use a computer or a large tablet. So here are the two dashboards you're going to see when you arrive. There is a quick little button here where you can maximize either one. So let's maximize the one that's going to show us our statewide FAFSA completion. Couple of notes right here at the top. You can go back to the class of 2023. And so that's the data you could look at if you wanted to. You could say, I want to look at the class of 2023. immediately the bar graph's going to show you from the class of 23 when it opened till the December after graduation to show you FAFSA completion over those months. And let's say I'm in ESC region 10. How did we do in comparison to the state? Quickly, I can see in the class of 2022, sorry, the class of 2023, FAFSA completion was above the state for most every month that they submitted. And you can even zoom in and say, oh, wow, in April of 2023, they were at 61% completion, so a couple of points higher than the state. You can even decide, I want to go deeper into that region. So you could go by county. If you know the county of the school that you're looking at or county of schools you want to compare, you can get down to the district level. I will say, once you change to district, you're going to see it for you to be able to filter the data a little bit easier. You can even still do ESC region here, county here, and then it'll make the school list even smaller. So I just want to quickly show you the quick where you can select multiple. So you could click the first one. I'm going to hold down shift, and then I can select multiple schools, and the data will refresh with new line charts for every school. If you're curious, it'll show you right here what district were you looking at, what color is their graph. So you'll see some schools have 100% financial aid completion at Adrian ISD. Woo, shout out to Adrian if anybody's here. But they've all of their seniors completed. Now I might be curious, I'm going to escape, which is going to take me back to the smaller graph. Now I'm like, Adrian ISD, I want to look at how many seniors they might have had. So you could grab this one here, open it full screen. And again, you have the same similar filters, region, county, district, or campus. So I know I want to look at Adrian ISD. So you can go down here to districts. And again, you're going to have the same full list. I want to look at Adrian ISD. So now this is going to change. So now I can see they had 10 seniors. And 9 of those seniors submitted. So they're currently, this is their current numbers. They're at 90% FAFSA completion as of 8/31. This data is going to be updated. It was delayed this year. So this data should be updated by next week. But now you can go in and see, okay, wow, I could shoot for Adrian, but I've got 750 seniors. So it might be a little bit different. I should go and look at my school. And you can clear the filters right there. It's going to take you right back to the home page where you're able to, again, ESC region, county, district, or all. And if you're unsure of some things, you can always click this question mark and it will explain each one of those categories that are on the chart there for you. I think I have one final slide. Andrea, if you want to put that back up, I will stop my share. Yep. So thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, I think there might be one more slide before or after this that has the email, but it is TXCAN, TXCAN at cftexas.org. And you'll get this information in there. But thank you guys so much and happy data management or data search. Thanks so much.
That was fantastic, guys. Thank y'all so much. That was really informative and very just valuable information. So I really appreciate it, especially how much detail you guys went into. That was wonderful and it was a lot of fun. Well, we're going to quickly go through our bright ideas. Remember, guys, these are your bright ideas. So one of our questions that we asked to you in the registration process for our webinar was, how do you use data to guide your current role in education? So you guys are doing some phenomenal things on your campuses, and these are some of also the tools that you're using. You are using data to track enrollment trends or gaps and opportunities for just student support. You're using the THE's, the coordinating board dashboards, the TextCan data dashboards, TEA reports, and techschools.gov. You're also doing student planning, campus planning, and letters of recommendation based on data that you receive from things like Naviance, School Links, and Zello, super popular programs there. Then you also use data to help track the status of college application completion and FAFSA data to help guide students' next steps. Very important, right? And you're using the Apply Texas Counselor Suite for this part of it. Then you're also using that data to look at those PSAT scores that are so important to maybe locate some possible merit scholars. And you're looking at College Board for that kind of information. Then, of course, very important, you are looking at the data with the TSI scores to track early college, high school, and dual credit programs. I'm using the AccuPlacer website for that. So wonderful things that you guys are doing on campus and using data to track things. Now we're quickly going to go through how the Texas OnCourse Academy can help support data management and the information that we have in the Academy. So we have a great module on college application systems, and specifically within this module in Unit 2, it discusses supporting students through the college application process. And it's going to really give you some great information on just the counselor advisor role and how that includes, and it's going to include an interactive book that really offers more in-depth information about how counselors and advisors can utilize the counselor portion of each application system and apply Texas, the Counselor Suite and Common App Recommender System, and the Coalition for College Supporter Accounts. So really detailed information about those specific programs. Now, these systems can be used for data tracking of college applications and FAFSA submissions. So some really great information in the Texas OnCourse Academy that breaks down that information for you. So love to talk about the Academy, and I also love the fact that I get to talk about the Academy Learning community. Maybe you're already a part of our Academy Learning community, but we wanted to create a space for educators to come together, share resources, and collaborate. And that is where the Academy Learning community comes in. It's going to allow you to specifically focus in on different modules and courses within the Texas OnCourse Academy, and then discuss how you are currently using those resources on your campus, or just those different topics that are all pertaining to college and career advising. If you scan the QR code right there on the screen, it'll take you to an interest form. We're also going to put that link in the chat in just a minute, and you just have to fill out the interest form and you're going to be included in our community. It's a really great space. We have a lot of fun and there's a lot of great conversations going in there. And I know we're almost out of time. So we will see you again, hopefully in April on the 14th for our Navigating Military Pathways session. And then we have a tiny take on April 23rd that's going to talk about the College and Career Readiness curriculum. And if you guys don't know about the curriculum already, please come to that session. It's a fantastic resource for educators. And then on May 12th, our last session of the year, which is crazy to think about, we're going to celebrate some schools that have been recognized as My Texas Future campuses of excellence. So real exciting to do that. Last but not least, stay informed with our network newsletter. We provide all of the updates within the newsletter. We push out our recordings and links for all of our upcoming webinars, tiny takes, those kinds of things, and just different things that are going on within the agency and the coordinating board. So some really fantastic information. We've had a lot of great feedback. Highly recommend signing up for that if you haven't already. And now this is something that I've heard a couple times in the chat. Guys, do not worry. If you scan that QR code or if you click on the link that's going to be shared in the chat, it'll take you to our resource page. We'll have all of the resources that we shared in the session and also a copy of the slide deck. And then in a couple days, actually, we'll be sending a follow-up email to everybody on the call and also everybody who registered for the session, where we will include the resource doc, the recording, and the slide deck. So you'll get all of that wonderful information that you just saw, because we want to make sure you have a link and all of the access to all the wonderful things. And guys, I know we're at time. I don't see any questions in the Q&A. And I didn't see any in the chat. Let's see. We have one about CCMR. We're receiving more and more questions about where to find data related to post-secondary enrollment information for the updated CCMR board goals requirements. Is there a centralized location, or what is the best platform to find this type of data?
Sure. Josh, thanks for your question. This is a very common question, and I do know that information is forthcoming in order to ensure that the just requirements around the board goals, how those are set, how they're communicated, and then what data is definitely forthcoming from our governance team at the agency. So if you would like, you can send us a help desk ticket, and I'd be happy to share a little bit more about who's going to be your best point of contact at TEA to support that, because we know there are many questions circulating around that, and want to make sure that we're able to support you with the best people within the agency.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. And Josh said thanks, so perfect. Okay. And I see your message, Christina. We'll make sure to get that resource link to you guys. Good point. We'll definitely get that to you guys. All right. Well, I know we're over time. So if you do have any other questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. All of our contact information is on the resource doc. You can also find us on Texas OnCourse. We'll get you to the right people if we don't know the response. But we had so much fun today, so much fun with our guest speakers. Thank you guys again for being here and staying on 3 extra minutes to answer any of those last minute questions. You guys are fantastic, amazing, and I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, and of course, all the work that our educators are doing out in the field every day. It makes a difference. So thank you guys so very much, and have a great rest of your Tuesday. Bye.